When I wash my brush out, I'm just gonna take a paper towel and get all the excess paint off of here and wipe it like that. And then I'm going to I've got a cup here, it's just a yogurt cup filled with water. I forgot to mention that at the top of the video, but mix it kind of like this, like hit it against the bottom of the cup to get it really, really, really clean. And I'm just kind of swirling it around and looking at it. And I'm gonna keep swirling it over here. You want it to be really clean because you don't want any of that orange popping up in the middle of your painting. So then I'm going to take a paper towel. You can use a rag. It's probably better. And you want to get out all the excess water, okay? You don't want any water in your brush because then you're just painting water on your painting. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to paint yourself a pure red. And I'm going to paint it down here because I don't want to get in the middle of that little mess I made. This is going to be warm red. And I'm painting vertically and horizontally, and I'm making a swatch. Actually, my swatches are probably 3 by 3. But if you make a 2 by 2 or bigger, you'll be okay. Just make sure it's opaque. And red is the hardest one to get opaque, so you're going to have to go over it several times. Okay, the next color that I'm going to do in the color wheel is going to be red violet. And all I'm going to do is I have my pure red, okay, that I left pure earlier, I hope. And I'm going to take a little bit of blue, and I mean a little bit, okay? You know, that much-ish, depending on how much paint you got. And I'm going to mix it into my red. Mixing, mixing, mixing into my red. And this is going to be kind of like a lipstick red, like a dark kind of 1930s lipstick red. And I'm going to take some. By the way, I probably got a little too much paint because I wanted to make sure that I had enough. But, you know, you want enough to do what you need to do, but you don't want to waste paint. So I probably wasted a little bit of paint on this little experiment, but that's okay. You're going to go horizontally and vertically. And make sure that it is opaque. Okay, lipstick red. Okay, it's darker than your regular red, obviously. That is your red violet. Now with the clean end of your knife, you don't need to wash your brush yet. With the clean end of your knife, you're going to grab a little more blue, and you're going to mix it into here and get a violet. And the deal is, the violet is really dark. These paints make a really dark violet. So if you were to add white to it, it would be a violet, you know, but it's going to be so dark you're barely going to be able to tell. You want it to be like a grape juice purple, and it's going to take quite a bit of blue to get to that violet. So I'm going to grab a little bit more blue. Mixing it up. Almost a grape juice color here. And the reason I'm mixing with my knife instead of my brush is if you mix with your brushes, sometimes it can kind of mess up your brushes. And brushes are not always cheap, so. Okay, so there's my violet. And it's gonna be dark, and that's just the deal, okay? So I have my brush that still has red in it, and that is not a problem at all. Grab your violet, brush it on, and make sure that your violet is different than your red violet. And if it takes you more than one swatch to get to the right color, that is not a problem. So you have more swatches, no big deal at all. You can always choose from them. We're going to do 12 colors. We're going to do the primaries, the secondaries, and the intermediate colors. So when we do that, you can just decide, you know, like, ooh, that's a better purple than this one if you do more than 12. Okay, so I'm not cleaning my brush. I'm going to take a little bit of excess out of the brush though, just because it's getting a little crazy. And I'm going to go ahead and clean off the ends of my knife. and I'm gonna paint my blue violet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some more blue. It's gonna take quite a bit of blue. I'm just gonna add that much because I have a lot of stuff happening here. I'm gonna add this to it, and it's gonna be a really, really, really dark navy. So if it's too red, just add blue until it doesn't look red anymore. It should look, you know, almost blue. Okay, and I'm actually going to add a little bit more. I want it to be a little more violet. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this one, and I'm going to decide between these two which one I think is more violet. Because I think this might be a better violet than the one I painted, which is no problemo. So we'll have 13 colors at least when we're done, and we can choose between those two when we get ready to cut out, okay? So I'm going to make that my violet, and then I'm going to add more blue to make my blue violet. Okay, so I'm taking that, I'm adding that much blue. I'm going to actually add a lot because it seems like I've got a lot of paint here. And I'm going to go ahead and paint this as my blue violet. Trying to get all that paint mixed in there. And I'm going to go ahead and paint that next to here. You can also, you know, you can mix paint on the paper. So if you don't feel like it's blue enough, you can literally just put more blue on the paper. And then just go back and forth horizontally and vertically and mix it on the paper. So if it's not mixed well enough, just go back and forth and you'll be fine. Okay, the next color I'm going to paint is my pure blue. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to wipe all the excess paint out of my brush. And I'm going to rinse, rinse, rinse like crazy over here in my water and get my brush ridiculously clean. And I'm going to make sure it's really dry, because if it's not dry, it's not going to work, okay? And I'm going to paint my pure blue. Blue, for some reason, has a tendency to be kind of transparent. So you want to make sure that it is really opaque. Really, really, really opaque. So you're going to go over it several times. My swatches are getting a little bigger as I go here, but that's what you're going to do your blue. Now, there's another section of our color of the wheel that we haven't even done, and that's all of the cool colors. So, meaning blues and greens. So what we're going to do is we have that same little piece of yellow that's clean in our palette, and we have blue that's clean in our palette. So we're going to mix blue into our yellow and create a yellow green. So I've got quite a bit of blue in my brush, like a little too much. I'm just going to get rid of that, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead, because we already have our pure yellow up there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to mix with my brush my yellow green, because it needs to be pretty light. So if you just have a tiny bit of blue in your brush, you'll be able to mix a pretty yellow green. And it's going to be like, you know, a lime color. Okay? And if it's not quite mixed in your palette, you can mix it with your brush on here. So I'm going to do it right here. The reason we're doing yellow-green instead of blue-green next is because that turned really green. Because you always do the lighter colors first. Okay? And I'm actually going to cheat. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow. So if you want to add a little bit more yellow, you can. And I'm going to show you how I would do this. I'm going to take my bottle of paint and I'm literally just going to drop a yellow on there. That's way too much, by the way. If you do that, you're a goner, but that's okay. I'll show you how to remedy that in a second. So I'm gonna brush horizontally and vertically and get my yellow-green. There we go, that's better. There's my yellow-green, and it needs to look like the outside of a lime. Okay, pretty, pretty, pretty. And the next thing I'm gonna do is my green. So I've got my pure blue in here, and I'm gonna wipe off my knife and make it really clean and nice. So I'm wiping off my knife, in case you need a visual there. And I'm gonna go ahead and get more of my pure blue and add it to my yellow-green to make a green. Okay, and this green needs to be like, you know, straight up green. You should have plenty of yellow-green in your brush, so when you mix it on your paper, it'll be a nice green color, and I'll show you that in a second. These two need to be different. Okay, they need to be different from each other. This should be more yellow, this should be more green. The last color we're gonna paint is blue-green. And what all you're gonna do is the same thing. You're gonna add more blue to your green that you just made, and you're gonna make a blue-green. And this needs to be almost blue. So these three should look different from each other, okay? And this one needs to be quite a bit more blue than the actual green, because it's blue-green. So we're going vertically and horizontally. And now we should have 12 colors, but we have 13 because we're gonna make a choice here in a little while. You should have yellow, yellow-orange, orange, red-orange, red, red-violet. I'm gonna choose between these. I'm probably gonna choose this one as violet, blue-violet, blue, blue-green, green, and yellow-green. And you're gonna let that dry. The next thing you're gonna do is clean out your brush really, really, really well. And if you wanna cover your palette for later, you can, or you can go ahead and clean it out. Do not put paint down the sink. This is acrylic paint, which basically means it's plastic. So you don't wanna put that down the drain. Put it in the trash, like scoop it in the trash, and then rinse out your palette if you're gonna clean your palette.